Worry them walls. Of you natural. Now is the time to wipe and define. To have the best of you. Finding purpose by juggling life. On you empowers you. Open this spirit. Welcome back. Be kind to follow us on all our social media platforms at OPU with Ezinne on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We'd love to connect with you and keep this conversation going long after this episode is over. Hello, InstaFam. It's so good to see you guys. I missed you as well. Welcome to the show. And just before we go into the meat of faith, I'd like to take a moment to say happy wedding anniversary to Jessica and Stan and Zeh. Happy wedding anniversary, guys. I pray that God continues to bless your marriage and keep you fulfilling purpose. Please enjoy this piece of music from us. Like an angel in the morning, shooting star across the night. The most beautiful girl I've seen in all my life. Every second spent you, it's like a day that starts brand new. Girl, I'm so amazed at all of the time. Yes, I wanna build my whole life around. So I promise you forever and always. Girl, you are my sunshine, baby, don't you know? All over me, already alive. I will love you forever. All over me, already alive. I will love you forever. Yes, that's the Yawomi by Timmy Dakolo for you, my darlings. Enjoy. So now to the business of today. What is Stack Up? Stack Up is chronicling your journey through life, keeping a record of your path, your wins, your fails, your all, as a reference material for your sake and also for posterity. Recall that an unexamined life is not truly a lived life. So Stack Up helps us to see how far, how well, how bad you have come, and also helps you to know what to do next. We are made up of our stories. We are the stories we stack up. What stories did you hear from your mother? What stories are you telling your children? If you want to know how to stack up and the many benefits of stacking up as a woman living in this fast-paced world of ours and much more, then please stay tuned to OPU with Ezinne all through September as we kick off the series today, Woman Stack Up. Sweep. Women are refreshing ways of falling in love. Of you natural. Now is the time to identify, to tell the best of you. Finding purpose by juggling life. On you empowers you. With open inspiration. Finding self, finding
Can I say love you, babe? Is the worst thing I could do, babe. You tore my heart in two, babe. Need a babe. You tore me little babe. It's in where you get to, sweet but hot true love. Sugar cane, shabby Texas. You won't be my baby. Now you text and if I be your lady, you know they try. So tell me why you want to cry, why you have to leave me alone. Baby, on this song, I don't think I can move on. For you, can't move on hopelessly wanting you.
The time now is 10 minutes past 4 and you're tuned in to Up You with Ezine on WFM 91.7. All episodes of Up You with Ezine are uploaded on our YouTube channel. Please go catch up, take the nuggets you need to run your life and your dream. Subscribe and do leave us a comment. It will help us to serve you better. Remember, it's all about you. Today, as usual, we're streaming on Instagram at Up You with Ezine, on Facebook, WFM 91.7, and at radiogarden.com. The topic on the burner is woman stack up. Please don't touch that dial.
Women are refreshing us. I'm falling in love. You not to rest. Now is the time to identify, to tell the best of you. Finding purpose by juggling life. On you empowers you. We problem is
Welcome back. Why stack up? It's important to stack up because our stories form the foundations of who we are individually and who we are as a collective. Stories help us make sense of this world. They help us make sense of our situations. Stories are also about cultural sharing. Sitting down around in the evening, telling each other what happened in the day, or what happened in the month, in the year, or even before we were born. It's an important way of learning and bonding. If the right stories are told and shared, the right values are imbibed. Now, women like our guest today are changing the narrative. They are owning their story. They are telling it and living it, and we're all witnessing it. And whether we know it or not, these women, like our guest today, are change agents, affecting the way we live, the way we act, and the way we respond to things. And just before I bring on our guest today, let me invite you, dear listeners, again, to start or continue, if you have already started, stacking up on your stories. Stack up on your successes. Stack up on your failures. Stack up on your love. Stack up on your experiences. Stack up on your money. Stack up on meaningful relationships. Stack up your network. Stack up your dreams. Stack up. Stack up. Woman, stack up. Today, our guest and I are in the studio to take a deep look at this topic. If you're just joining us, this is Up You with Ezine on WFM 97.1. Finding self, finding purpose. Our guest today is Ambassador Dr. Mrs. Uyime Ivy King, a woman of many parts and diversities with a wealth of experience that spans several fields. She is, first of all, a passionate God lover and an anointed scribe who sees her writing as an important calling and ministry which enables her function as an influencer and change agent in the society. A co-founder and builder with her late husband, Dr. Obon King, Ambassador Uyime Ivy King stepped in as the chairman of Protection Plus Services Limited, a private security and maritime company, after her husband went home to heaven. She's taken up the mantle and leadership challenge to both continue and build on his worthy legacy. She's also co-founder of the Obon King Foundation, whose flagship event, Think a Nation, a measure of thinking and education, hosts an annual youth conference in Nigeria. She's an author, a publisher, a conference speaker, certified marriage mentor, relationship coach, child protection specialist, certified grief and loss counselor, mental health addiction therapist, and she's got all her certifications from reputable institutions both at home and abroad. Originally, Ambassador Uyime Ivy King read English from the University of Uyo with additional certifications in media enterprise and advanced writing and reporting from the Pan-Atlantic University School of Media and Communications, Lagos. Her awards are legend and legion. If I begin to read them, we will be at the end of the show without really having a show. So please go on up to our Instagram page and read her full bio. She's also the executive director of the Save Our Women and Girls Foundation, and she's done so many things with that, both in her home state, Akwa Ibom State, and here in Lagos State. Uyime Ivy King is a mother of 4 fledglings, and her active social media profiles, where she continues to impact by her writings, are sowagfoundation.com, at Uyime Ivy King, at Clap to Dance, and at Sowag Foundation. Please log on to at Opu with Ezine and you'll find all of this. Dear listeners, please join me in welcoming a very beautiful, cerebral guest this evening, Ambassador Dr. Mrs. Uyime Ivy King. You guys are not clapping. Is it every day you get a celebrity in the studio? And the celebrity is even laughing. Good evening, Uyime. How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
It's so wonderful to have you on the show today.
I'm happy to be here.
Oh my God, you look really lovely.
You know, you contributed to that.
No, right? We shall not tell them that, you know. Okay, thank you for coming. And let's set the stage for our discussion today, yeah? Okay, so please tell me, I know I just chatted you up and I said, okay, I want you to come on the show and I want you to talk about, woman stack up. Yeah. So could you please share with me, what occurred to your perspective and your understanding of this topic that we're dealing with today?
Okay, thank you. When I heard the title, Woman Stack Up, what came to my mind immediately, because I quickly looked at my dictionary, and I saw the informal meaning, which is about how good something is compared to another, and then I also saw putting things together into a neat pile. So what came to my mind in relation to the topic today, I just thought of organization. I thought of a woman tracking the different expressions that she has as a woman. And when you begin to do that, you kind of begin to separate the chaff from the wheat. So it also, what also came to my mind is that there are some things in the course of doing life as a woman, when you begin to stack up, when you begin to organize, you can now decide that, okay, this thing that I'm pursuing, I can follow it to the end, or it's not going to be worth my while. Then that's where effectiveness as a woman comes in. So it helps you to organize, it helps you to be more effective. So those were the thoughts that ran through my mind when I saw the topic Woman Stack Up. So it's about positioning yourself, and positioning the different expressions you have in such a way that it makes the most impact.
Thank you so much. I always get amazed when guests come and I ask them this question and their thought aligns with what was going on in my head when I was speaking the topic. Yes, it's all about examining yourself, looking at what you've done and asking yourself, should I continue to do this? Should I change something? Should I, if I'm telling this to someone as what I've done, will I be proud to be talking about it? Awesome stuff. Anyway, the doctorate was not for free now. I've read some of your stories, Onyeme. Okay. I follow you on social media like crazy.
My head is swelling right now.
Yeah, better. But I will knock it for you. No, but really, I do follow you. I read, I may not comment, but I do follow you. And I've read all the things, or, you've written most of them, and I think you're an amazing writer.
Well, thank you.
So each time I read a piece by you, I marvel at your rich history and your ability to recollect, stuff, the memories you've stacked up and everything. And I've always wanted to ask you the question, why do you write?
Oh, that's a very interesting question, because I've been writing like as far back as when I was in nursery school. I started writing very early.
Wow.
I came from, I was brought up in a home where we were exposed to books at a really young age. And growing up, it was easier to find us with a book or a newspaper clipping than maybe playing outside. I'm not saying that we didn't play as children. I thoroughly enjoyed my childhood, and we played a whole lot. But we were introduced to books. I remember my dad bought us a lot of classics. My mom would always buy. I remember when she bought us Clash of the Titans before I saw it on TV.
Oh, wow.
So way back then. So I discovered that I expressed myself more through the written medium. And my parents got a lot of my notes, because each time they did something that I was unhappy with, I couldn't express it to them by talking, but I would find a way. And that's how my life has been, because if I need to express myself over something, I would find a way. You will not do something to me and then I'll bottle it up. I'm upset and I'm bottling up. I will find a way to express. So I found out that it was easier for me to put my thoughts in writing. And that is how it grew. And of course, the books I was exposed to as a child, also, I wanted to write like that. I was reading the Famous Five series and all of that, and I wanted to write that way. Then along the line, of course, I started because I discovered the power of the written word, because you can create a whole legacy through the stories that you document. So documentation is very, very important. So my writing has been very didactic, because I use the written medium to teach and pass across the stories that I want to pass across, to teach lessons. And that's what I've been doing. I have a grandmom, for instance, who has a lot of rich history. But I didn't want that history to just disappear, to get lost, because growing up when she did, in the century that she did, she was a woman who was quite... I don't know how to describe her. She was a mentee to the late Margaret Ekpo. So, yeah. And then she was one of in the church where she attended, the Koibo Church. She was one of the first women president that they had. And for me, in an era when women were not even allowed to go to school, it was like
quite a
exception to the rule. Yeah. So those were stories that really inspired me. And then she had daughters that she encouraged. Her daughters too went out there. Like my mom's younger sister has represented Nigeria, represented West Africa in several sports outside the country, and so those were the things. And I said, okay, let me document these things. And of course, my experiences, I wanted to document them to be able to teach lessons. And that's basically what drives me a whole lot when I'm sharing stories out there. I don't just write for writing's sake. I write because there's something that I want to teach. And in the process, something happened to me one day. Because I noticed something. If there's a thought running through my mind, and I put it down, when I go to church, maybe several days later, my pastor is saying the same thing. I started noticing that about me. And then one day I was in church, because I was in the E-team, that's the social media unit of church, and we're documenting service. And it was prayer time. You document the prayers. So as I was writing, as prayers was going on, I just heard vividly, because I know how God talks to me, and I'm not going. My story will not be complete without mentioning God, because it
even says in your story,
part of who I am. I don't compartmentalize my relationship with God. It's a part of everything I do. And I heard clearly, character mentor. When I heard that, I quickly opened my eyes. I went to Google, I typed that in. I wanted to understand what is God saying to me, and I trusted that with time it would unfold. And one of the earliest thoughts that came, that was connected to that word I heard, was that there are so many people out there that are teaching a lot of things, a lot of how-tos, and there's no character involved. So
a lot of theory teaching. They haven't even lived what they're saying.
So those were the things that really encouraged me, and I saw the impact that the things that I wrote was making in the lives of people. People will come to my DM to share. People will come to my DM to tell me how something I've written has so impacted them. So I wasn't really looking at the numbers that I see, the likes or anything on the external, because I'm an inside out person. I think that is the inside that powers the outside. So when people come to my DM to share the stories with me, that those are the people that you wrote for, I said yes. Even if it is one person or two persons that come, I know that I've hit gold.
Wow, this is all interesting. So let me quickly open the phone lines before I give William and myself run away with the story, because if you see the way I'm doing, you'll just know that I'm being sold. So the number to call is 07000 917 917, and the number to text is 0703 1756 537. I'll take that again slowly. 07000 917 917 and 07031 756 537. So the phone lines are officially open. When you were talking, I was just going, because the passion for what you do was shining through as you were even speaking. That's a rich history you have right there. A history of women who have done amazing things. So, with that kind of history, you have no choice but to continue to do amazing things. Okay, so in all of history, like we're speaking now, women have. Anonymous was a woman. You see that story you see how they finish writing and they say Anonymous is a woman that wrote it. Because we didn't have platforms to be able to share and talk. And then generations of women have listened to his story, and we have believed the singular point of view, and that of men around them. Okay, so when we look at the stories that are out there, you read them, you find that we can't connect, because stories of war, we can't connect. Women don't go to war. And then we look for stories that want to talk to us about menstrual and menopause. We can't find them because women are not sharing stories of menopause. Neither are they sharing stories of miscarriages. You get? So there are no stories for women to connect. And then when that time comes for you, you're thinking that something terrible is happening to you. You don't have any coping mechanisms because nobody has shared anything, So, even right now, women still feel embarrassed to discuss intimate issues about their bodies or about their experiences, even their desires or challenges they face at work. They just feel like, okay, it's not proper to talk about these things. Please, what makes it socially inappropriate? And honestly, I'm glad that people like you have come up and we're talking about everything. And there's something we can look at and say, okay, this is how this person coped with this. So I can toe this line and cope with it myself, So what's your take on all of this?
Okay, I think women have a lot of stories, written, unwritten, spoken, unspoken stories that they want to share. But I also think that the history that they've come through, because formerly women were thought to they were meant to for the
Be seen and not heard.
the woman's place is in the kitchen. That was the popular thing, and then a lot of women grew up that way, thinking themselves to be invisible human beings that do not really matter. After all, they're going to you get married. You're not the important one here. Your brother is the important one. He's the best thing that has happened after the
Slice
of the microwave. So women learn to shrink themselves, so that they do not offend anybody, so that they align with the script. And for me, I think that it's time, and thankfully a lot of women are coming out to share their stories, because when you share your story, you empower another person. And people begin to realize that this is what I'm going through is not peculiar to me.
True that.
Although I always say one thing, that two women may be going through the same thing, but the outcome may be different, and also the way they go through it may be different. Okay,
because their personalities, right?
Yeah, personality differences, their background, the things that they have grain or things that they have picked up here and there. There are some conditionings that helps them, that makes them respond to life the way they do. So two people could be experiencing the same thing, but they respond from totally and radically different angles. Like I tell people that I lost my husband, and another woman has also, many women have gone through that experience, but it will not be exactly the same thing. Yes, both of us have lost husbands, but the way I'm dealing with my challenges will radically be different from the way you're dealing with your challenges. So good and fine, you tell the stories to encourage other people, but at the end of the day, own your story. It's your own story. Tell your story. Yes, let another person's story be a guide. Let another person's story be an encouragement to you that, look, you don't have to, okay, Uyeme Ivy King lost her husband and she's still standing. I don't have to die because my husband died, for instance. I can still do what needs to be done, and that should help you to own your story, to take charge of your own story. You may not do it exactly how Uyeme Ivy did it, the way I faced the challenges that came at me. Because if you try to do it exactly how I did it, then the outcome may not be the same thing for you. So find your own rhythm, find what makes you comfortable and deal. So I feel that women should come out and tell their stories more, because there seems to be like an unwritten playbook that if you praise yourself, you're bragging or something like that. So you want to diminish yourself so that another person would not feel comfortable with you. And for me, that's totally wrong. We should come out, we should share our stories to encourage other people to know that, hey, you're not alone. You can make it. You can do it. So that's my take on that. I feel women should come out more, should talk more, should share their stories more. I remember when I published my first book, and I had this young lady that was working with me, and the way she wanted to promote that book for me, she would write something, she would write a script and come and show me, and I would literally feel as if I want to disappear. I said, no, you cannot say that. You cannot write it in this way. I wanted her to tone it down. I wanted her to tone it down. So that's what happens to a lot of us women. We don't want to really put ourselves out there. And then, of course, if you grow up in a home that they will tell you that you shouldn't, if you talk about your achievements, you are proud or something, that you should be humble. And this humility thing, we take it to a level that it's not. Because, yes, the fact that you're humble, that you're telling your story does not mean that you're not humble. So there's a blur there. The lines are blurred. You don't really know where to stop it. So we take it all the way and we don't even say anything. So I think women should open up more, because it helps a lot of other women, and people realize that, look, this trouble does not need to sink me, and there's no shame in sharing your story, because it helps you to own your story. Because when you allow other people to tell your story, of course they'll write whatever they like. You can wake up one day and say something about yourself that you don't like. And I remember one funny one. It's funny, Sha. when I lost my husband and I colored my hair not too long after I cut my hair short, I colored it. And then the story I was hearing about myself, oh, that woman, that one that killed her husband and colored her hair. And you know, it made me laugh. I have a video when my husband was in the studio recording a video, and I went there. That was the early days of experimenting with hair color, and he saw me, I colored my hair purple, and he was so excited. And he did a video, I still have it. And see, I'm in the studio, my wife has come, see her hair, blah blah blah, and all of that. And I told him later on when we got home, I said, this color is not even popping the way I want it to pop. That I'm going to try other colors, and he was excited. And you know, so I said I have to own that story. I'm not going to allow people to define me for me. I'll define myself the way I want it. So telling your stories, speaking up helps you to take control of your own story. And then even if it's a story of shame, it doesn't matter. Because when you tell it, the shame goes away. By the time, okay, imagine, let's say you're a thief and you're a repentant thief. And you come out and you tell the world, oh, I used to steal. I'm sorry about what I did. I didn't know this. It was wrong, blah, blah, blah. By the time somebody is coming to laugh at you and telling you that, see this thief and all of that.
You already owned up.
Yes.
That was your yesterday.
I owned that story. Yeah.
You know, thank you, Onyeme. You make being strong seem very easy. I haven't been where you've been, but I know that it's not easy. May Ubong continue to rest in power. You know, I put down here that there are some stories that come to us, you know, through memories, through beliefs, through practices, rituals, practice religion.
Yeah.
You know, and these stories tell us, oh, for instance, if you're bereaved, this is the way you should behave. You've broken that mold and thrown it away. You know, and so without even consciously trying to, you have empowered both yourself and other women to mourn their own way differently, because you're the one who has the loss.
Yeah.
So the rest of us are spectators in your life, and that's what we remain. So well done to you.
Thank you.
Well done. I had goosebumps listening to you, and I'm saying, we only think about strength about those who are winning 400 meter race or throwing javelin or something.
Yeah.
This right here is giant strength. May God continue to keep you.
Amen.
Okay? All right. So going on, Onyeme, I'm going to ask you. I recently spent some time with my daughter, whom I haven't seen for some time. And then she was telling me, Nigerian parents, you guys are funny. You just follow a script in your life. Script. You woke up, you went to school, and then you now got married, and then you now had children, and then you started working, and then you started training your children, and then your children have now graduated, and then you're now looking for husbands for your children, and then after that you say you want to become grandparents, and after that you wait to die. And I'm like, wow, where did you get this stack up from? How did you? He said, all my friends now, all their parents are telling them it's okay, so now you've graduated, so what's going on in your life? When are you getting married? And then when they get married, so when are you having any children? It's like you guys are just...
Yeah.
So when you said a script, the light went on in my head again. That's like what that girl was telling me, a script, you know. So, what stories did you receive? Or, okay, what script did you receive from your mother? And what script are you writing for your children now?
Okay. It's a mix. My mom is a strong woman. I come from a line of strong women, and I think is one thing that has really helped me. Because starting from my grandmom, I told her story in an era where women couldn't even have their own career. She had a career. She owned her own fashion school where she trained a lot of young women. I have pictures of her and all her apprentices.
I don't even know about my grandmother. No stories.
Yeah. So she passed that strength to her daughters, who passed it to their own daughters. So if there's anything that I've learned from my mom, that I've gotten from my mom, is that strength, that resilience. I've seen her go through really tough times, and she did not allow it to break her. And then, of course, you also have these stories about men from, growing up when we grew up. You hear stories like, if you even stand beside a man, you're going to get pregnant. So don't even go near boy. So if you're not careful, you grow up with a fear of relating with men. And it's something that I had to deliberately work on because I was very, very antagonistic towards men. Very antagonistic. And when I can remember when my husband and I, we met way back, we were serving in a church in Akwa Ibom. And when I said yes, that I was going to marry him, it was like a lot of people, he's the one, we had a conversation. Because he said a lot of people came to him and they said, how did you do it? How did you make her say yes? She's very aggressive, blah, 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 and all of that. So we had that conversation. And it's from a script. It's from a script, which I had to deliberately work on to mellow down. Because one of the things that I said to him when he asked to marry me was, I don't want anything from you. No gift. There's nothing that you're going to give me that I can.
We'll have a call coming in. Just hold on. Good evening, up here with Ezine. Who is calling?
Oh, hello, beautiful lady. How are you?
Very well, thank you, sir. Good evening.
Okay, if I drink your food,
okay, thank you for calling, sir.
I just put on my radio, my register.
Yes, sir.
But I'm a regular listener caller to this very particular station.
Okay, sir.
Well, as of this, I don't know much about this episode. So can you recap it?
Okay, we're talking about the woman stacking up, why women should be able to tell their story. Please just stay on your radio, you'll be able to get us more. Yeah, so if you're just joining us, this is WFM 91.7. The program is Up Here with Ezine, and we're discussing woman stack up. Uyime, you were just saying something.
Okay, so I was saying that was a script, and I needed to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And for my one thing my mom didn't do was harass us about marriage. She wasn't that kind of mother that will tell you you must marry. If you don't marry, blah blah. She wasn't that kind of person. She supported whatever decisions. She didn't put the pressure on you. You know how when you're a young woman and your parents feel that it's time you should be married, oh yeah, come and marry and leave my house. She wasn't that kind of mother, you know. So it's also helped me with my own children. And I have 3 daughters and a son. And I tell them, no pressure. Yes, marriage will come when it will, if you want it. But if marriage doesn't happen, it doesn't make you a failure. You can live a successful, fulfilled life without marriage. And if it happens, good and fine, do it well. I believe that whatever is worth doing is worth doing well. And that's the story that I passed to my daughters. I use their great-grandmom as an example, their grandmom, their grand auntie as an example of strength. So I tell them that if you want to be married, marry well. Have a phenomenal relationship. And if marriage doesn't happen, have a phenomenal life as a single. I enjoyed my single years. I enjoyed myself. I was so involved with a lot of activities in church. I was so involved in the things that I wanted to do. I wasn't marking time waiting for a man to marry me. My husband came in the midst of me doing all the things I wanted to do. And when he came, he was a what's the word? I'm looking for a word now to use. He brought value to my life, and I also brought value to his life as well. So
we have a call. Up here with Ezine, who is calling? Where are you calling from?
I can understand you. You understand me?
Oh, welcome back. Thank you for calling back, sir. Yes, sir.
See, the part of this is that this is very good topic.
Yes, sir.
And more especially your guests, you are really feeling this way. You understand me? I didn't like the way I'm managing your life. You understand? But you don't wise enough for any parents.
Yes, sir.
To force either a girl or a boy to go into marriage. You understand me?
Yes, sir.
What happens? You not force them. They have to go into that marriage and it doesn't work out. Who will have to be? So the girl will go to the parents. You understand me?
Yes, sir.
Just allow them at any stage. They can get married. You understand me? Provided they know what they are doing. They don't go for the wayward one. You understand? You don't have some wayward men. You may have somebody that they will not try to take care of their wife or something of that nature. They will not that you understand?
Yes, sir.
So that is one thing I translate today. I know, like what you are, like this your program now, it will educate the parents and also educate the children as well. You understand me?
Yes, sir.
We try to do so much. Thank you very much. Can I know your name?
My guest is is Ambassador Uyime Ivy King. And my name is Ezine. Thank you, sir, for calling in. So, Uyime, when my daughter asked that question, I was thrown aback.
Yeah.
I said to myself, this is why we should stack up. This is why we should examine our lives. This is why we should be sure that the stories we're living, that the scripts that we're living are scripts that, resonate with us.
Yeah.
Not that we are scripting or that we're living script that other people wrote, and I promptly did the Nigerian thing. God forbid me, I'm not waiting for you to have grandchildren for me to be waiting to die. No. I need to reinvent my life and all of that. So I need to...
when I lost my husband, I said something to my children, because one thing that we have going that is so fantastic in my home is our communication is top notch.
Yeah.
From when my husband was here, and then the children would come into our room every single day we are in town, and we'll share, we'll read devotionals, we'll talk about life and everything. And I told them something that, look, initially when your dad passed, it was all about you. At that point, I was in denial. I just wanted you people to be okay. I was thinking about my children. And I told them that was fine then, but now it's also about myself.
True.
Because, yes, your father is not here anymore, but it doesn't mean that my purpose also ends. Apart from, before I became Mrs. Uyime Ivy Ubong King, I was an individual that God created with purpose. So I keep telling them that I'm not at the end of time. Because as a Christian, I believe that there's life after this life. And I appear before my maker, and he will ask me that this and this and that are the things I wanted you to achieve. What is your excuse for not achieving it? I'm not going to tell him that my husband passed, and that's why I couldn't achieve those things. So I told them, look, your father is not here anymore. You are here, and you don't have any excuse.
We have a call. Up here with Ezine, who is calling, and where are you calling from? Good evening.
Hello, I hope I'm not disturbing you. If I want to ask this question. Where normally when you need to start the show, and where does it end?
We start at 4 and it ends at 5, sir.
Okay, this is quite easy to do. Both of you are feeling you.
Thank you so much. I just love him. He's a she.
Yeah,
he's a good one.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, so talking about he for she's and sheros, do you have a shiro? Do you know her she story? And what's your favorite?
Whenever I get asked that story, it's usually very difficult for me because I can't mention one particular person.
Mention a
because my grandmom, I always tell her story anywhere I go. She's someone that inspires me a whole lot. She's my shiro because I look at her at the time she was raised, and she went for her goals. She was married, and she loved fashion, and she did not allow herself to be constricted by the social conditioning, the cultural expectations of her time. She went for her dreams in spite of the general story. So she's my first hero. And then of course there are a couple. You have Oprah, who is out there.
Isn't she for
Yeah. And then of course my mom is my hero. Sometimes when we get asked this story, we're looking so far at somebody
external
in the Netherlands and all of that. Somebody right there at home, maybe in Hollywood or something. And then what you're looking for in Sokoto is right there in your Sokoto.
Yes.
So my mom is my hero as well, because I see in her an example of a woman who has stood resilient in the midst of, tough circumstances. I've seen my mom when there was a time in the house we didn't have much money, and I've seen her literally tie just one wrapper to go to work every day to ensure that things continue in the home. So she's my hero as well. And then of course, like I've mentioned, Oprah, and when I read Maya Angelou, I love her poetry. And
Maya was a deep woman.
Yeah, she was.
You see, you just called all deep women. you run really very deep. Yeah. So you see, me too. I'm going to deepen our relationship because
we should.
Iron needs to be sharpening iron around here. Yeah. Okay, so whether it's as a social media influencer or as a mother or as a corporate guru, because I can imagine that it's no mean feat to be chairman of Protection Plus.
It's not. It's not.
Yeah, so whether
you're sweating, just mentioning that I'm sweating.
Do you understand? So in any of your roles, you're always telling stories, sharing life experiences, engaging stories that call the person reading it to take action, to evaluate, to learn. You've changed the narrative about a lot of things without even realizing that you are. Or maybe you realize that you are doing so. Because like you rightly said, the era of trying not to shine so that they will not say she's is gone.
Yeah.
Because honestly, when you shine, it allows the next woman to be able to also shine, to realize that it can be done, so I too should agree to do it. So, Unyime, we've talked about this, you've told me how you used to read books and everything, but one will say, didn't I also read book? Didn't I also read book, So, what, there must be some things you did. I don't believe this is coincidence. I think this is more intentional. Some things you've done that you could put out there for the woman who wants to be like you, who wants to succeed in every pie that they put in the fire. What can they begin to do to be able to stack up?
Okay, thank you very much. I believe very much in you admiring what another person does without wanting to be like that person, because nobody can be Unyime Ivy King like Unyime Ivy King.
Sure.
And I don't want to be another person. Yes, I admire.
There's the way my husband says it. When I say to him, "Why don't you be like Susan?" So he says, "So who will be good for a
Exactly, exactly. Because there's a uniqueness about you. I believe strongly that there's a reason why your existence on earth is necessary. If you're like the other person, what's the point? God should have just made one of you. You need to make three different persons and all of that. So I think it's not something that I set out to do intentionally. It's been me, just being me. I loved writing. I love expressing my thoughts. And I'm someone that I think deeply. I'm not really like when my husband was here and I would say that I'm quiet, he would say, if you're quiet, I'm from Cotonou. Like, I don't believe you. So I'm somebody that I love to, I internalize a lot and I think a lot. So
you're a thinker.
Yes.
Did you coin Tinkanation?
Okay, no, that was all debunking. Yeah. So I think in the process of you being your authentic self, without really meaning to, you begin to teach lessons that you yourself did not really set out intentionally to do. And then when you notice that, you now make it an intentional thing, So it was me just being my authentic self, wanting to express myself. Like, remember I told you I read a lot of books growing up, and I wanted to write like the stories that I was seeing. I wanted to talk. I wrote a lot of stories in jotters, so many jotters when I was in secondary school. And sometimes I kind of feel bad that if my parents had the level of knowledge that they do now, yes, I would have published so many books that I wrote then. But then I forgive them, because you cannot blame somebody for taking a decision at the level of knowledge they had when they took that decision. So if they knew better, they would have done better. Yes. Yeah, will take better decisions with regards to that. So I enjoy sharing my stories. I enjoy it when I write something and somebody comes to tell me that this is the decision that I've made because of. Let me share a specific example. There's one time I went to Facebook. It was on my Facebook. I wrote that if you're working for somebody and you are stealing from that person, and you go and set up your own with the process of what you've stolen, that business can never be established. And then a young lady comes into my DM and she said, "Ma, I really feel so bad. I don't want to go to," I didn't even write anything about hellfire, and I don't believe in using, yes, there's hellfire and all of that, but I don't believe in scare tactics, because it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And she came to my DM and said she feels so bad that she works in a place where a group of them, they've been ripping off the establishment, and if she comes out, she's going to implicate the other people, that she wants God to forgive her, she wants to do a restitution and all of that. when I wrote that thing, I really wasn't expecting that reaction.
Any response,
so I
yes.
have learned to follow God's leading, so to speak, when it comes to writing. I don't just, people are on social media for different
reasons, yeah.
And if you're there just for the entertainment purpose, fine, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm not on social media for entertainment. I'm on social media for a didactic purpose. I want to teach from the different, my daily experiences and encounters with people. I want to build up stories, you know, for tomorrow, for my children. Like I tell my children that you should be, years down the line, you should have a compendium of my stories, my experiences, and I share those stories and I write them. So that's what it is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Honestly, we have learned a lot, but I'm going to just give you 1 more minute to wrap up this session, this episode so nicely. So what's your final words to our listeners as we close out this conversation?
Okay, I just want to say to the women who are listening out there, and of course I know there are men who are listening as well.
Yes, because we got one calling.
Don't apologize for who you are, because when you are your authentic self, then you can really get to people to learn lessons. You can really create a rich history and a rich legacy that other people can learn from. You know, be yourself. Just be yourself. And when you tell it as it is, other people have an opportunity to also tell it like it is. And in that atmosphere of authenticity, there's a lot that gets to happen. So just be yourself. You may not make it to I don't know what magazine I can use now. I don't want to mention names and promote any magazine. To high profile magazines. To high profile, but it doesn't mean that your impact is less. The person who has 1 million followers and you who has 50 followers and you're there thinking, oh, I just have 50 followers. Please do what you need to do with those 50 followers as if you're doing it to 1 million followers. Impact is impact. So be yourself.
Whoa. Can impact get any stronger than that, my dear listeners? Don't be afraid to be your authentic self. If you didn't get anything from this episode today, and all you took away is don't be afraid to be your authentic self, then my job here was well done. Thank you, Unyime, for coming on the show.
Thank you for inviting me. I had fun.
We have learned quite a lot from you. Thank you for sharing from the depth of your experiences.
Thank you.
May God continue to uphold you.
Amen.
Dear women, my take today is that you can't afford not to stack up. You can't afford to look at your story. You can't afford to look at where you're coming from. You see, it's obvious that Unyime has been listening to strong women and has developed a sense of strength herself. So we need to look at that story. You know, please don't let anything stop you from stacking up your life. Who knows? It may be the roadmap for the next generation. The roadmap they need to navigate to do and be better. Please don't rob yourself and all of us of the contribution that you can make to make today and the future better. This is where we wrap up today's edition of Up You with Ezinne. It's been another amazing one. Please follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Up You with Ezinne. Get copies of our books, Up You, and When Adversity Strikes, Fight. Thank you. Big up to everyone that is involved in creating the magic every week. Starting with you, our Instagram family, our Facebook Live family, you know, our guests, our advertisers, the callers, the engineers on duty, my producer Tolu, the amazing OPU team, and the best radio station ever, WFM 91.7. You all stay strong, stay blessed, and stay lifted. My name is Ezinne Kufure-Kanem. Until next time, it's OPU.
Women are refreshing ways of money they want to you natural. Now is the time to identify truth out the best.